Who do you think of when you think of class? Hepburn, Monroe, Obama. There's all different names that come to mind when we think of classy women. And I took a moment, because a client asked me this, to say, Mark, how do I become classy in the eyes of a man? And I said, what does that mean to you? And she stopped and thought, and before I get into these signs that make you classy today, I want you to think of that for yourself. What does classy mean to you? What does that look like? So here's the definition of classy from Miriam Webster. Elegant, stylish, having or reflecting high standards of personal behaviour, admirably skillful and graceful. So you can see all of these are pretty complementary, so how do you make sure that that's how you show up in the eyes of a man? Well, today I'm going to be sharing 5 attractive things, 5 ways that you can show men that you are classy and have class. Before we do that, don't forget my book is now available. Grab a copy. I would love to hear your review of it. Thank you if you've left a review on Amazon. Really means a lot to me. If you haven't, check it out. There's also a free chapter if you're not sure. Number 1, judgment-free standards. How do we men tell that you have class? Well, one of the best ways to demonstrate class is to say, hey, I have these standards, but most of us, when we're putting in standards, what do? We look at someone and we say, that person's below my expectations. That person's not good enough, they're below my standards. And look, you might well be right, but the problem is it's not very classy when it comes off that way. Whereas what if I was to say, hey, that person's pretty amazing. They're not for me, they have some things that I don't really agree with, but good for them. I respect them as a human being, and I'm sure they'll find someone great for them. I'm sure you could agree that's a classier response. It's a classier way to rule someone out. But what did I really demonstrate there? What I demonstrated is I demonstrated the difference between ruling someone out using judgment and ruling someone out without any judgment. See, it's easy to move away from people when we judge them. It's easy to say, oh, that person's not good enough, you don't meet my standards, that person's not good enough either, don't meet my standards, don't want anything to do with you. And sure, there's plenty of high status, wealthy people that do that, but it doesn't come off very classy. The reason classy people, classy women in particular, come off classy is they get the same job done as the high status, not so classy women, but they do it without requiring judgment. They're able to say, you know what, that's not for me, and they effectively remove things from their life that don't fit their values or don't match their standards, but they do it without judging that thing. Without a negative meaning, without saying, I'm above that, they just say, that's not for me. That's okay. That is a huge definition of class. Being able to get your standards met without judging something as below you. If you want to look classy, remove the wrong from your life without judging it. Number 2 is your clothing choices, specifically classy clothing choices. It's superficial and it matters. Look, the truth is you as a woman can get attention in a number of ways. It is a very easy way to get attention for you to just wear less clothing. Let's be honest, it'll work. It might not get you the best attention, but you can get a ton of attention by opening an OnlyFans account tomorrow, working hard at it, and you'll get lots of attention. But is it classy? No. Most people wouldn't see it that way, and most men, if we're being blunt, would not see it that way. Why is that though? It's because of the way and the difficulty involved in getting the attention. See, any woman can go on OnlyFans and get a following. It's a low-hanging fruit. There's nothing wrong with that fruit, no judgment if you want to do that, but it won't be seen as classy because frankly, it's easier. If you want to be seen as classy, you've got to get attention in a way that is more difficult to do so. Just like the way it's more difficult to remove someone from your life without judging them. It's easy to judge them and remove them, but it's harder to do it without judgment. If you're wearing clothes, good covering clothes, and still able to get attention, that is not something that's easy. That's not something that most women can do. And so when we look at women like Kate Middleton, Emma Watson, Scarlett Johansson, they're not posting nudes. They're not even wearing hyper-revealing things, but they're able to use their posture, the way they stand, the clothes they wear, and they're able to use their bodies and the clothing choices to make classy impressions. In other words, they're able to get attention using well-covering clothes or moderately covering clothes without needing to go to the easy route of using as little as possible. Good quality clothing choices, choosing clothes that fit you and choosing clothes that stand out, allow you to get your needs met, to get attention, and do it with class. Number 3, attractive things that show men you have class is being unapologetic but never forceful. You see, we can be forceful to get our needs met. You could emotionally manipulate a man. You could control him by using words like have and need and should. You have to do that, you need to do this, you should do that. But does any of that sound classy? A man could do the same thing to you. He could control you using any of those words. He could control you using emotional presence. He could control you using physical presence and be aggressive. But is that classy? Absolutely not. The more you can learn to be unapologetic about your needs, absolutely saying, this is me, this is what I need, I know where I'm at, I know this is a want, this is negotiable, this is an absolute need, and never control a guy. Allow him to step up, allow him to say, yes, I want to do that, or no, I don't. That shows a hell of a lot of class. So again, what is classy? Classy is getting it done in a way that most people can't. Anyone could be forceful or aggressive or controlling, and it would probably work, at least for a short time, to get their needs met. But classiness is doing it in a way that most people can't. Can you be unapologetic about your needs, still get them met, and never force it on anyone? Never control someone? Never tell anyone what they should be doing or have to do? That's hard. And that's why it's classy. Number 4, you put your values before tit for tat. So let me give you an example of this. One of my favorite sayings in the world is, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. Think about what that means. An eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. What it means is that if you take my eye out and I take yours out, eventually there's going to be no eyes left in the world. If we think about tit for tat is you hurt me so I get to hurt you. Well, what about my value of standards for myself? What about my value of the character of the way I treat people? Does that just go out the window because I'm tit for tatting now? Here's a practical example. One of my favorite celebrities, I guess you'd call her, Kate Middleton, awesome woman, seems to be very classy. She went to visit Harry and Meghan's child right when those two were in the midst of their bickering. She did it. She did it anyway because she has class. She put her values above tit for tat. If you want to be seen as classy, then don't get into silly tit for tats that betray your values. Instead, stick to those values and say, you know what, I'm going to be above this. I'm going to stick to my values here. Does it mean you get walked on? Absolutely not. Does it mean you still have to call people out? Often it does. But it means that you don't have to get into the riffraff of hurting others and doing to them as they've done to you. You can stick to your values first, and in the end, someone who's watching on as a third party is going to say, wow, look at that. That one was hurt and still stuck to her values and her boundaries while dealing with the situation. That is a powerful, powerful statement of class, and it's one that most people aren't capable of. So if you want to be seen as classy, then think about this. Always put your values, whatever they are, however you need to enact them, put those above any tit-for-tat beef. Beautiful sign of class. And number 5, attractive thing that tells a man you have class is the character trait of self-assuredness. So many of the women we spoke about, you know, what do they have in common? They don't need to bring others down to reaffirm their value. It comes from within, and that self-assuredness, that confidence from inside radiates outwards and others can feel it. That's a sign of class. She doesn't need to bring anyone else down to make herself look good. What a classy lady. Is class the thing in men? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think of a classy man? What does that look like to you? And what are some of the traits if that's a thing? Pop it in the comments below. I would love to hear. Hit the subscribe button with the little bell, and don't forget the book is available, my book. Check it out, link in the description. I'll see you soon.